Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to me exposing this delusional Mr. Hunter Reynolds. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another section and welcome back to another episode of me critiquing this man, this fraudulent man that you see right here. I was going to continue going down his chronicles of mistakes that he has made, which led him to be a failed YouTuber, which he is right now, with actual facts and key knowledge that anybody with a brain would have taken heed and focused on their college education and degree and did something better with themselves than trying to chase a dream that was never going to happen. So 5 days ago, when I made my first video on Mr. Hunter Reynolds exposing the delusion and narcissistic nature of him, I wrote in his comments, trying to give him some constructive criticism. As you can read right here, you guys can read what I've said in this comment. I'm gonna give you a second to read it. Well, I got a response from none other than Mr. Hunter Reynolds. And guess what he had to say? He says, I have a degree in economics from the University of Michigan while earning a scholarship. Just because you're a loser. Let me read that again. Just because you're a loser with zero belief in yourself didn't mean the rest of us are. Well, Mr. Hunter Reynolds. Well, Mr. Delusional ass dude. See, what I was doing was trying to give you constructive criticism. But since you called me a loser, let's get into the epic annihilation. Now I'm going to annihilate you. I'm going to annihilate you. I'm going to fucking annihilate you. So when I left off, in the video I left off, he was talking about how it was now year 4 in his college career, and he is still yet to see his ass on the goddamn field for any meaningful time. So let's see, and how he was just going to jump in the transfer portal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he did that. And let's see how that worked out for him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hunter Reynolds, the transfer portal reality no one talks about.
In 2021, I realized my time at Michigan had come to an end. Not because someone told me, not because I got cut, but because I knew I hit my ceiling in Ann Arbor. So I figured it was time for a fresh start, and I put my name in the transfer portal.
He hit his ceiling in Ann Arbor. Nigga, no you didn't. You didn't even crack your ceiling. You were still at ground level, my nigga. You were still at ground basement fucking level. You were still at basement base camp. You didn't even hit your peak. You didn't even hit no level. Trying to go out there and compete for steak dinners and hotel room stays, and was only brought off the bench when the game was already blown out and motherfuckers was just clearing the bench just on the sake of getting y'all ass some playtime. You was mopey dick around Ann Arbor, Michigan. You was hanging your head, being mopey, Mr. Mope Fest, crybaby ass dude. Never achieved shit, never accomplished shit. There, yeah, you did get your degree in economics. Well, nigga, you should have dove right into that degree of economics, and you wouldn't have been a failed YouTuber where you are right now, trying to make content that hundreds of other failed motherfuckers like you in football is already making, and doing a way better job at it than you are. But let's digress.
For the next 2 weeks, I had no scholarship and no guarantees. I was just hoping I didn't end up like thousands of players that get lost in the shuffle. This is the reality of the transfer portal. For those of you that don't know my story, I started out at Michigan as a walk-on before eventually working my way up the depth chart, earning a scholarship, and getting myself onto the field. And most people don't know.
You see how he just breezed past that? You see how he just breezed past that? Ladies and gentlemen, you go back to my video. That's an hour long because I'm roasting this dude for an hour straight. I'm roasting him, and maybe another hour straight of me roasting his ass. He did not make any significant achievement in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He was a ghost. He was a ghost. As soon as his weak ass probably went towards the end of the video, like I said, as soon as his weak ass hit that transfer portal, they instantly forgot about your ass. They just like, who's that one kid that was on scout team, that one scout team defensive? Oh, I don't know. Fucking who cares? Who cares? We got another freshman coming in who's a 5-star recruit.
But I actually was planning on going back to Michigan for my 5th year. But some things transpired that I'll talk about in the next video that ultimately led me to realize that transferring was going to be my best option. So I remember we had practice on Friday, got done with practice, was in the car, called my parents, told them of my plans. They supported it. They agreed with it. My mom was actually surprised I didn't end up transferring earlier. But from that point on, I was like, all right, it's real. It's going to happen. And I was like,
see, your mom got some goddamn common sense. Your mom got some common sense. Your mom should have told your ass, boy, hang it up. A real mom would have sat your ass down on the phone, and y'all would have had a 2-hour conversation, and she would have convinced your ass to quit football and focus on your education. Go out there and get an education, which you claim that you got at Michigan. But earlier in the video, you said once you enter the portal, you had no scholarship. So which one is it, nigga? Which one is it? It can't be both. It can't be both. You can't spend 4 years at motherfucking Michigan and getting your fucking degree without no goddamn scholarship. So which one is it? They don't allow that shit. You're only there for football. You're a walk-on, so you're only there for football. You're not there to partake in college school or college classes because you're not on scholarship. And then in the other video, you said you did get a scholarship. So which one is it, nigga? Which one is it? Because obviously, you're talking yourself into a fucking circle. That's what you're doing. But I'm the loser. Nigga, please. Nigga, please.
Okay, gotta compile the film. So the entire weekend, I just went through Exos my entire 4 years at Michigan. I was basically picking out all my good plays, screen-recording them, so that way I had something to send to colleges. And while I did get on the field, it's not like I was a superstar. I say half of it was game film, half of it was practice film. But going through every single practice of my career, I was like, okay, well, there's a lot to go through here. I knew from others that had transferred before me that the second your name hits the portal, your access to everything gets cut off. I'm talking access to the facility, access to the film, even access to the weekly grocery stipend. All of that is gone. So I already had the film, but in the morning I made sure to go and get some groceries, and I made sure to take most of the stuff out of my locker. 15 minutes after my name hit the portal, someone said...
So you're stealing food. So you admit you're stealing food from the organization that you're getting ready to transfer out of. You're getting ready to leave the school, so everything should be cut off for you. That means getting a job, nigga. That means getting a J-O-B. Like motherfucking Friday, Pops from Friday, nigga, you need to get a J-O-B to pay for your own shit.
Yeah, picture of my locker, nameplate gone, everything out of it. Like, they remove all traces of you from the facility. And to this day, the thing I'm sickest about is the fact that I didn't go back to the locker room to get my nameplate or my helmet. But at that point, I was like, all right, you know what? We got to focus on the future. We got to focus on trying to find where we're going to go. Because as you guys know, thousands of kids get left in the portal every year. I was not trying to be one of them. That was my main priority. I was like, well, time to go talk to Coach Harbaugh. Now, I wasn't deciding to transfer out of a place of animosity. So it was really just a conversation like, hey, Coach, I feel like it's in my best interest to transfer. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the opportunity. But this is kind of what I'm doing. And while I wasn't a starter, it's not like I brought zero value to the team. So from Coach Harbaugh's standpoint, he was like, while we would love for you to stay and be on the team, you help us out. I understand where you're coming from, and, I wish you the best.
Struggling to get out of your shell. So this Saturday, I'm doing a free life hypnosis session to help you break out of your shell. You're not broken.
While we would love for you to stay and be on the team, you help us out. I understand where you're coming from, and, I wish you the best. So
he said that's what everybody says. He was probably looking down, signing some papers, retrieving some calls when he was telling you that. Because you are no priority to him. You are of no priority to Coach Harbaugh. None whatsoever. He was like, oh yeah, we would like for you to stay and you help us out and stuff like that. You're never gonna be on the fucking field, nigga. You should have been hit a transfer portal. That's what he secretly say. See, coaches say stuff to you without saying it to you. You understand? Because if he was brutally honest, you being a weak-minded ass motherfucker that you are, can't take criticism, you probably would have went to the locker room or went back to your dorm room or where the fuck you sleep at night and probably wrapped a blanket around your throat area, and it would have been the end of you. It would have been the end of you had he told your ass the truth, which people nowadays are so fucking pussyfoot around motherfuckers' feelings that they don't tell you the truth. Once you going into your second season at at Michigan, excuse me, when you were at your second season at Michigan, the coaches should have sat you down, told all you motherfuckers that was on the fringe that was not was never going to crack the roster, never going to crack the starting lineup. They should have told you, guys, listen, do you want to hit the transfer portal when this comes up available for you this offseason, or should we send your application to the head, the dean? Should we send your application to the dean for you to get an educational scholarship so you can focus on your degree? Because football is not meant for y'all. It is not meant for y'all. Y'all have two options. Because we're not going to be wasting our time and our resources for guys that ain't achieving shit. That's not making any type of significant impact on us whatsoever. That's how they used to do it back when I went to school. They used to set these kids down who was not doing shit, not accomplishing shit. Yeah, you was putting in the work. Yeah, you were grinding, but it wasn't making a fuck bit of difference. It was not making a fuck bit of difference to them in their eyes and in their scheme and their playbooks whatsoever. So somebody should have sat your weak-minded ass down and told you to quit. Quit. It is not for you. And maybe you wouldn't have wasted 4.5 years of your fucking life trying to chase a dream that never came true.
From there, I went to compliance, filled out the forms, and
National notification of transfer submitted by the University of Michigan. Blah, 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 blah. You submitted your notification of transfer. Blah 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 blah. Yes. That's what every transfer player that went to the NCAA gets.
We're in the portal. Now, the transfer portal is really just a big database, and I've heard from other coaches that there are literally coaches on staff whose main job is every time a player gets put in the portal to just check them out and see who they are and see if they can help the team out. But I get back to my apartment, make my little farewell post to Michigan, and
let's read what he says. He made a farewell post to Michigan like he was a 5-star recruit. And it just wasn't see no success with the team, and he's making a statement. Let's read what he says. Let's read what he says. After discussing with my family, I have decided to enter my name in the transfer portal as a graduate transfer with 2 years of eligibility remaining. I want to thank Coach Harbaugh for giving me an opportunity to be a Wolverine, as well as Coach Dan Brown, Coach Partridge, Coach Zordrick, Coach Larkins. In addition to them, I want to thank all the other coaches, training staff, academic support staff for helping me grow as a player and as a person. To all my teammates, y'all are like brothers to me. I know y'all are going to do big things next year. I am truly grateful for my time in Ann Arbor and look forward to my next chapter in life. Nigga, what chapter? Nigga, shut the fuck up. Nobody on Michigan knows you exist once you left. You talking about you guys are like, the teammates are like brothers to you. Nigga, no, they're not. They only entertained your ass because you had on the uniform. They weren't your brothers. Ain't nobody remember your ass. Nobody remembers you. Nobody remembers you at Michigan. Not at all, period. Nobody at all. At 2020, when you hit that transfer portal, they was like, oh, he's gone? Okay. Next. That's what they were like. Next, they hit you with the next.
My phone started blowing up. Like, I'm getting followed by coaches at every level across the country. I'm like, whoa, hold up. This transfer portal experience might go better than I thought it would. Like, after the first day, I think there was no less than like 30 schools that either followed me or reached out to me. But everything isn't always what it seems. Because something I learned from high school was a coach might follow you, they might reach out to you. Sometimes that's as far as it gets. And that's pretty much what happened with the majority of schools that I heard from on that first day. Nothing really gained any traction. You know, I got a couple, hey, send us your film, we'll get back to you, or, you know, we like what we saw, and they never get back to you.
Yeah, nigga, because you ain't shit. You're not shit. You're nothing. You sending them practice film and shit. And barely 2 measly ass games where you was in at the tail end of the game when teams were already, when Ann Arbor, Michigan already put up 40 and 50 points on these motherfuckers, and they're clearing the bench and letting you play it in a game. You sending practice film. They're looking at kids that show you actual film from the games that they're playing. Dumbass nigga. Stupid ass nigga. They have film of hundreds of film of kids, thousands of film of kids actually playing in games. Actually tackling some shit. Actually running and picking off some shit. You did none of that. None of that. You send the practice film thinking that you go let the wide open door of transfer portal gonna be open for your mark ass. Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here, square.
But I was very familiar with that from my high school recruiting journey, so it wasn't really something that fazed me. Now, one of the big things to know when you're entering the portal is you kind of have to have a list of criteria of things that you care about. So for me, I'd already graduated. I already went to the University of Michigan. I already had all my undergrad fun. Things like location, how good the academics were, the party life. None of those really were things I was considering. It was no. Where can I go to get on the field and put myself in the best possible position for the next level? So ideally, if you're at the P5 level and you ball out, you'll have the best shot.
So, you already graduated. So, like I said, you spent 4 years at the Diverge. You better have graduated. You better have done something. So instead of graduating, quitting football to focus on your degree in economics, like you said you have, you wanna waste your time going to another school. Now you'll be 6 years in college trying to make it to the NFL when they can just go to any other school and get a kid who played 2 years, only to stick around in college for 2 years, and is young, like barely like 19 and 20. You about to be fucking 24 and shit, still trying to make it. Dumbass nigga quit. Dumbass nigga quit. You should have fucking quit. You should have fucking quit. You should have hung that shit the fuck up. And it's never going to happen for you. So, at P5, that means you are top priority when you hit the transfer portal. P5 means you are at the cream of the crop. You are at the top of the totem pole. G5 means, yeah, you're not the cream of the crop, but you have potential. You have potential. There's something that a coach can look at and get after you, get something out of you if they bring you to your school. FCS, which your bum ass is, you're at the bottom of FCS. You're not even qualified at FCS at that, in my eyes. You are at the bottom of FCS. If there was another tier underneath that triangle, if there was like a little Christmas tree, little block right there, little cube right there, Christmas tree for never gonna make it, that's where your ass would be. You are not even FCS level. You are bottom of that shit. You are never going to make it level. With 2 years left of eligibility to work your way up to P5, which is never going to fucking happen for you. So give it the fuck up.
Then, G5 level, you'll still have a shot. FCS, you'll still have a shot. But it was definitely like, all right, ideally, if I can be at the P5 level, I want to go there. If I can be at the G5 level, or I have to be at the G5 level, I'll go there. If it has to be FCS, I'll go there. I didn't think I would have to go D2 or lower, but that was kind of my thought process. So P5, G5, FCS. So the first school I actually heard from was...
Yes, nigga. Yes, nigga. Look at that. Look at that. JMU. Did not say it. Did not say he should have tried out for fucking JMU. Did not say he should have tried out for JMU early in the first video that I made. He should have went for JMU. He should have went for Division negative, Division 3 and lower. Yeah, nigga. Yeah, nigga. That's what you should have been. That's where you should have went, you dumbass nigga. Instead of you thinking, oh, I'm gonna go to a power 5 school in the NCAA, and I'm gonna make it there. No, nigga, you should have started from the bottom and worked your way up to the top. You wasted 4 years of your fucking career in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where you should have used 4 years of that motherfucking career to build up your resume at a lower tier school. You dumbass nigga, dumb fuck. Now you're Benjamin Button. You're aging in reverse, you dumbass.
James Madison. Now, at the time, they were still at the FCS level, but being from Jersey, I knew a lot of guys that went there, and I knew that they were one of the better FCS programs. So on day 3, I started talking to them heavy. I'm talking to the safeties coach. I'm talking to the defensive coordinator, and I'm like, yo, if I have to go to James Madison, this is not a bad thing at all. They've sent guys to the league. I know they play at a very high level. Like, I would be perfectly fine with that. But I was only 3 days into the portal, so I was like, I'm not going to rush into anything. I don't want to commit right away and then maybe miss out on a later opportunity. So I was like, yeah, coach, I'm still hearing from school, still want to, figure stuff out, hear stuff. I'm not going to commit right now, but, they offered me, and I was like, all right, appreciate that, but I'm going to hold off for them.
It was extremely illegal to know. Subscribe to. Thankfully, though,
they offered me, and I was like, all right, appreciate that, but I'm going to hold off for them.
So you see this? Do you see this stupid shit? Do you see this stupid shit? James Madison gave you an opportunity and an offer. They offered something to you. And you was like, but hold on. They didn't offer you the starting position. That's what you wanted. That's the reason why you declined. Let's just keep it 100%, nigga. Let's just keep it 100%, dummy. Let's just keep it 100%. They must not offered you a starting position there. And you was just like, well, we're going to give you an offer, but there's no guarantees you'll start, just like you were in fucking Michigan. And you was like, well, let me weigh my options. Fuck this cuck.
And on day 4 or 5, I hear from Minnesota and Louisville. And like I said before, I was trying to stay at the P5 level. So Minnesota and Louisville, they were exactly what I was looking for. So Louisville, I'm talking to their director of player personnel. He's like, we've seen the film. We like it. We need someone that can come in here and be a playmaker. I was like, hey, coach, that's me. I can be that guy. So he was like, yeah, going to take it back to the coaches, see what they say. And then Minnesota, it was the corners coach that reached out to me. Now, one of my best friends, Ben St. Juice, had actually transferred to Minnesota a few years prior. He actually put in a good word for me with the coach. And the coach reached out, said that he actually wanted me to play corner instead of safety. But he thought I could be someone that comes in there and, is part of the rotation. So I was going back and forth with him on some regular recruiting conversations. And one thing he said that stuck out to me was, we have a couple young guys who are kind of talented. They're just not ready to play exactly yet. So we want to bring you in as kind of that bridge guy to play while they get ready and develop. Now, it sounds great. Oh, they're not ready. You guys have a void in the position group that needs to be filled. I can fill it. But I thought to myself, what if those guys develop over the back half of spring ball and over the summer and they're ready to play in the fall? Well, from the sounds of it, you think those guys are really talented. you'll probably want to play them instead of me. So the conference.
Yeah, because you're not talented. You see how you shoot yourself in the foot? You see how you shoot yourself in the foot trying to big yourself up like you were somebody, nigga? You're not nobody. You're nobody. You're a nobody. You're a nothing to these niggas. You're a nothing to nobody. They just pulled up your high school stats. They pulled up your offer sheets, your recruits, and found out you are no offer nigga. So they're not going to waste their time on you. They're going to give you a little bit, like I said, dangling that carrot in front of your face. You look like a little fat rabbit, like a big chungus ass nigga. A big chungus ass nigga. That's why they waving that carrot in front of your fat ass face, saying your dreams are hoping that you're going to start until somebody younger and healthier comes to replace your fucking dumb ass. That's going to happen everywhere you go. That's going to happen every school you go to. Because you're old, one, you're older prospect, one, and it's just not going to happen for you. But let's continue.
Carried on into Friday. We actually jumped on a phone call, and he told me that he's going to go back to the staff and then be able to offer me on Monday. Monday came around. I ain't hear shit. That was the last correspondence I ever had with Minnesota. So we went back to the coaches. They were like, yeah, no, we're not offering. And I also hadn't heard.
Yeah, because you ain't shit. You're nothing. I keep telling you this. This is when you should have quit. This is when you should have took your economics degree and focused on that shit. Being like, okay, where can I get a job where this economics degree will help me? Or if not, get an actual working job. Work at the oil rig. Become a working stiff. Become a working class American. Become a blue collar, nigga. Become a blue collar.
Louisville, so I reached back out to them, and they said they were going in a different direction. So the P5 options, they were off the table. I still had James Madison at the FCS level, but I haven't talked about the G5 level yet. So I entered the portal on Monday, April 5th, and on Tuesday, I actually started seeing that I was getting followed by a couple of coaches from Utah State. And I was trying to be proactive, so any coach that followed me, I would just go ahead and DM them my film. And the first person from Utah State that I DM'd was actually Coach Morris, the assistant safeties coach at the time. So I sent him my film. He asked, how many years of eligibility do you have? I was like, 2. And then he was like, all right, we're going to evaluate your film and go from there. Then a couple days later, he DMs me and asks for myself. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of the same process we were going through with Minnesota, Louisville, but, hey, man, I'm trying to go somewhere to play. That's all I care about. So then on Thursday, I get a DM from Efren Bonda, who is the safeties coach and defensive coordinator. Now, this is when I started getting a little optimistic because, mind you, Minnesota and Louisville, I really only heard from a position coach or a director of player personnel. I didn't actually hear from a defensive coordinator or someone who really had the power to hand out an offer. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, because you would never hear. Yeah, nigga, because P5 schools, Power 5. That means Power 5. That means straight to the NFL. That means they don't settle for no offer, 0-star, bum-ass niggas like you.
Okay, wait, hold up. This might actually go somewhere. And that initial DM, he asked for my phone number, gave it to him, and then he called me like 30 minutes later. And again, it was just a normal recruiting conversation, just asking the basic stuff. And at the end of it, he was like, yeah, you were a walk-on at Michigan. And I was like, yeah. So he's like, so you never got a scholarship offer? I was like, not really. He was like, well, happy to be your first. I was like, oh shit, you're offering me. Oh shit. This is what it feels like. Never experienced that in high school. I ain't said that out loud, but that was what was going through my mind.
But you should have quit. At that moment, you should have quit. You are now 24 years of age. You are now 24 years of age, getting your first actual scholarship at 24 years old. Or 24, 23. However, because you could have went there when you was you could have went to Michigan and started your freshman season as a walk-on when you was 19. So you said you spent 4 years there, 19, 20, 21, 22. You was 22 years old. You was 22 years old at that time, if my memory serves. If I do the math right. You were 22 years old. Quit, nigga. You should have hung the football up. You should have hung football the fuck up. It is not for you. And it will never, ever, ever be for you.
And I'm like, oh shit, well, thank you, coach. Appreciate it. Definitely think I can see myself playing, get Logan, play for you, play at Utah State. But I don't want to commit right now. I want to go back and talk to my parents first. He was like, yeah, no, we totally understand. I was definitely cheesing on the other end of that phone. So I called my parents, told them they were excited for me. And then they were like, all right, would you consider going there? And I was like, well, if they're the first to offer me, that means they probably have the most belief in me. And I feel like that's going to be the best in terms of for me getting on the field. So yeah, if I go to Utah State, then I'm perfectly fine with that. There were a few other schools I was talking to, like Southern Miss, SMU. I think I had some conversations with Memphis. So I was like, all right, I'm going to wait.
See? These are the schools that I told you, dumbass, you should have been trying to go for when you were in high school, coming fresh out of high school. I told you to go to the James Madisons. I told you to go to the SMUs. I told you that. Go back on my videos and watch the first video. Go watch the first video of me exposing this delusional ass dude. And I told you what schools you should have applied for. How am I that smart enough to know it and you weren't, nigga? Benjamin Button.
Over the next week, the beginning of next week, and trying to see what transpires, what materializes. And if nothing does, then I'm just going to go ahead and commit. And some of the schools started dragging their feet. They were like, oh, we want to wait till the end of spring ball to start offering guys and things like that. So I was like, I could wait for that. And my offer at Utah State gets taken by someone else. So I was like, you know what? Hey, it's cool, coach. I'm just like, it's cool. Then on April 16th, went ahead, called Coach A, told him, yeah, coach, I'm committing. Let's go, let's do this. And you might be wondering, wait, so you committed to a school without even taking a visit? Well, the world was still dealing with COVID, so there wasn't an opportunity to go out and take a visit. I just kind of had to blindly jump in. But, I've always said sometimes you just got to jump feet first into the pool, figure out how to swim later. You might not know what the future holds exactly, but you just got to take the risk sometimes. Which is actually funny to think about because I thought Logan was going to be like dirt roads, one stoplight. It was way more developed than that. But that was kind of what I thought going into it. And I didn't realize that till I first got there when I moved. But
you see the arrogance? Do you see the arrogance? Oh, I thought it was going to be old dirty roads and mom and pop shops and nowhere where I could get my Jordans, no malls, no luxury apartments, no $1 million condos. Shut the fuck up. You don't deserve none of that shit because you're not a $1 million condo ass motherfucking college player. You're a bottom of the basement motherfucker. So if a school was a dirt road and they didn't have no malls for you, get no Jordans and none of that shit, you better been fucking happy as pie. Please as punch.
Of course, in the next month, I had to train on my own because, again, I was cut off from everything Michigan related. Going through the graduation activities, and then it was time to move. So my family actually drove out to Michigan to help me move, but we packed up the truck, and it was time to drive 20 hours to Logan. And that entire time, I was stressed. See, what very few people know, and actually my parents didn't even learn until years down the road, was I actually wasn't graduated from Michigan at this time. So I was an econ major at Michigan, and the hardest class according to everyone was Econ 251 or econometrics. And I was taking that class in my very last semester, and because of some of the things that transpired that caused me to transfer, I go live, my mental was down in the gutter. So I was actually sick with COVID when I took the midterm, and then my grandmother had passed away 2 days before I had to take the final exam, and yeah, I failed both. Now,
R.I.P. Grandma. R.I.P. Grandma. R.I.P. Grandma. I lost my grandmother, and it did a toll on me too. So I'm not gonna roast you on that. But what I am gonna roast you on is you failing your classes on economics. So how did you? Okay, so guys, you remember in the beginning of the video, he said he got his degree in economics, but he failed his midterms. So how did you get your degree in economics when you failed your midterm? That means you didn't get a degree in economics, you dumb nigga. You had no degree. Which is what I told your stupid ass, monkey ass, you should have fucking done. But I got a degree in economics. If you weren't such a loser that didn't believe in yourself, doesn't mean everybody else has to. You should have quit. You should have became. You since I'm the loser. Oh no, I'm not a loser to know that it's okay to quit on a fucking dream that ain't gonna work for your motherfucking ass and pivot to something that might. Only losers stick with motherfuckers that are keeping you at the bottom of the basement in your motherfucking life and you ain't achieved shit. You ain't done shit.
Because I went down the econ track, I didn't have enough classes in other subjects to graduate general studies, but econometrics was one of those core classes that you had to pass to graduate, so I couldn't graduate in econ either. So while I'm going through all the graduation festivities, my heart's not fully in it because I'm like, I'm technically not about to graduate right now. But because I was only one class away, I was able to declare for graduation, which means I was able to walk, and there wasn't even like a true graduation ceremony. It was all online. So, the parents, the aunts, the uncles, they're all watching the ceremony. They see my name flash on the screen. So they're like, oh, Hunter, congratulations. I'm sitting there like, bruh, I can't even tell y'all right now. Like, everyone's so excited. I don't want to just...
You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Because while you were trying to focus on making a fraudulent ass motherfucking NFL career happen, you let your studies slip. I'm a person that had a degree in psychology, okay? I have a degree in psychology. I actually have a fucking degree, okay? Unlike your stupid ass. So when I tell kids that it's okay to get a fucking education, you can get a fucking education. It is very easy. It is almost easier than getting a fucking NFL career. Because that's never going to happen for your mark ass. Because I wanted to be in music. I wanted to do music. That's what I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. But I started looking at the business of the entertainment industry in Hollywood and stuff like that, and how they're just porking dudes in their behind. How you have to get on your knees and slob on the knobby knob in order to get some roles, in order to get some opportunities. I wasn't with that, so I pivoted into getting a degree in psychology. I wanted to learn the human mind because there were some traumatic things that I went through as a child in my life, and I wanted to be a child psychologist. But ladies and gentlemen, that's enough about me and what I pivoted. I left my dream of wanting to go to Hollywood and be a dancer and be a singer and be a Hollywood star because I didn't like the way Hollywood did things and did their tricks. How you had to sell your soul to the Illuminati and all that stuff. I wasn't with that. Okay? So I pivoted like a smart individual with a fucking functioning brain was supposed to. Meanwhile, there is nothing going on in that brain and that fucking behind that do-rag. There's nothing going on between there. This is nothing but air and space. There's a fucking time-space continuum in your motherfucking brain, that in your fucking headspace, because the damn sure ain't a brain going on in that motherfucker. The damn sure ain't a brain. Because if you did have a brain, you would have learned to quit football a long time ago and focus on your economics degree.
Point, y'all. And mind you, I was grad transferring to Utah State, so they were planning on me having already graduated and, it'd be a seamless transition to go to the grad program. But since I wasn't graduated, I was like, all right, how is this going to mess that up? So I actually had to retake econometrics in the spring semester. And in hindsight, I should have just said something, but, I've never been the best at that. Sometimes I just go through stuff alone. And as it would turn out, the final exam was on the first day that we were driving out to Utah. So I'm in the backseat of a Ford Expedition typing in answers. I have notes on my phone, notes on one half of my laptop screen, the exam on the other half. And yeah, like I'm kind of nervous because I'm like, it's a difficult class. I really don't know some of this stuff. Like even no matter how much I study, I just, I was lost at one.
Because you didn't put the effort in, because you was just too busy trying to chase a fucking fraudulent ass dream instead of going to a tutor, hiring a tutor to help your ass with your economics midterm. So while you're sitting up here trying to crunch your fucking economics degree, while you're up there trying to take a ride to Utah to play in your now 5th year of college eligibility, you're getting older by the minute and dumber by the second.
hit submit, I was like, hey, man, it is up in God's hands right now. I have no clue how this is going to turn out. I need it to turn out well because if I fail this, I really don't know what like the course of action is going to be from there. I might not even be able to play at Utah State. So for the next 3 days, I'm on edge. Finally get the exam grades back. I think I passed by like 4 points. I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness. So apply for graduation, graduate, get all the paperwork done with, and yeah, no, I'm good to go at Utah State. And then it was time for a summer workout. So going through that program, getting to know the guys, the coaches, and it was a cool.
So you failed at studying. You even failed at trying to get your graduates. You failed at economics at that. Because if you were to pursue a degree and pursue a career in economics, like what you said you did, there's no chance that you would even get hired because you didn't score high enough on your economics unless you have to take the whole test again, which is a non-possibility because your broke ass wouldn't do that. To score higher so that way you can get a degree in economics and further adequate yourself into that degree and getting a job that entails that specific criteria in your degree. You want to continue to chase this motherfucking fraudulent ass dream of making it to the NFL, which you're not going to do.
Group of people, right? Like I meshed with them pretty instantly, boys with a lot of them for life. And yeah, I was like, I'm pretty happy with the decision I made here. But before we get to any games or anything like that, we got to start at camp. Now, they told all the incoming transfers that you'd have to earn a spot. So I started off with the threes, actually, like my first practice. Interception, literally my first rep of one-on-ones, had an interception, I think 7-on-7s. So from that point, it was like, oh, wait, hold up. Okay, like he's kind of a playmaker. Because what's funny is I've never been like that super athlete. So when we were going through summer workouts, some of the guys actually told me, they were like, hey, I thought you were kind of sorry. Like, we're going through the workouts. Your burst's not that high. You're not that fast. But nah, you just a baller. And then over the course of camp, I just worked my way up the depth chart. And I'm eventually still a 2, but like a 2 that is actually going to be going in the games. And I actually didn't start my first game at Utah State, but I was in on our third down defense. So I was like, all right, I don't know if I'm going to rotate in, how much I'm going to rotate in, but I know I'll be playing on third down. So I just got to go in. They can play there whenever it comes to me, and, I'll be straight. And what's funny is it felt like every single time, the third down defense was about to go on the field, something would happen to where it just didn't. And, it could be 2nd and 15. They would gain, 12 yards. It'd be 3rd and 3, and, we're just in base defense after that. But eventually I go in, get my feet wet, and a little later in the game, one of the starting safeties actually goes down with injury. So then it's like, oh, well, my time to shine. And looking back on it, I could have played a lot better. I was a little timid, just not wanting to make mistakes. I had a tackle that saved a touchdown. We ended up, I think, forcing a field goal off of that. But there was another play where basically I knew it was about to happen. I could have jumped it. I was a little, timid, slow to react, just not wanting to make a mistake again. They catch it, score a touchdown right in front of me. I'm kind of sick about it to this day. It's like, fuck, y'all could have had a 95-yard pick six.
Dumbass. See, this is the reason why you should have quit. Because you're getting cooked. You just gave up a touchdown. That could have swayed any point of the game. That could have lost them the game in a clutch situation. You're not making any standout plays. You're nothing. You are nothing, dude. What the fuck? Are you serious right now? Here I'm thinking, okay, you went down to a lesser school that's not a Power 5. So you go to you go to the GCS, and you're getting cooked there too. You're getting absolutely cooked there too. Dude, I keep beating this dead horse back to life and then unaliving it again. When I say this, you should have, what guys have I been saying? He should have what? QUI the fuck T.
We eventually win the game and, we move on from there. And then the next week, I actually got my first ever start. For some reason, I don't know, I just did not allow myself to think anything good could happen in my football career. So I was expecting all right, something would happen to where I wasn't going to be starting. But, the first defensive snap, I'm on the field. I'm like, oh, shit, man. finally, 5 years into my college career, finally get my first D1 start. I actually had like 9 tackles that game. I think I had a TFL. But yeah, the rest of the season, I'm a starter except for like one game because I was dealing with the knee issue. But second leading tackler on the team. We won the Mountain West Championship. We won the LA Bowl. Best season in Utah State history. And then I kind of talked about the 2022 season in my last video, but team captain, All-American, again, second leading tackler on the team. And I say all that was because I made the decision to enter the transfer portal. Like, I always get asked, do I regret leaving Michigan? And I say, no, I don't regret leaving Michigan. Super happy I decided to transfer to Utah State. Not because of anything that was wrong with Michigan or because any animosity I harbor towards them, but more so for the fact that transferring allowed me to unlock my full potential, which I don't think I would have been able to do if I had stayed. And I know that.
But dumbass, you would have had more opportunity to grow as a player, stack together more film, if you would have went to Utah State in to begin with, you dumb fuck. When you were just coming out of high school, you dumb fuck. Not wasting 4 years in goddamn Michigan trying to make a dream come true at a school that wasn't meant for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done. I'm done. The video is pretty much over with. There's nothing more he could say that he hadn't already said in this video. I've roasted this nigga enough, and I will continue roasting this nigga into an oblivion. Because, yeah, your first season, yeah, it was great there at Utah State. It was absolutely phenomenal. Well, you should have done that more when you did it coming out of high school, you dumbass. And maybe you could have had a hope. Maybe the hope, you could have had a hope of trying to achieve something and then moving your way up to a Power 5 school and then playing your last 2 years of eligibility at a Power 5 school, and then maybe you would have went to the 7th round, or you could have been undrafted in the NFL. You could have went undrafted in the NFL because you weren't going in any top tier rounds. That's not happening. Your ass would have went to the 7th round, or you would have been undrafted. But still, that is still miles better. That should have been miles better than where you're currently at. And we'll get more into that, ladies and gentlemen, in the next video.
Portal's under a lot of flack right now. People seeing the headlines of guys transferring for millions of dollars.